Recording now. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us in another of our APPI Learn by Doing. The focus is always on ARV. And today, the topic, there's always a topic, will be intention and inertia in the UCC, the Universe of Collective Consciousness. So here's going to be our outline. I'll take about a half an hour to do a tutorial on ARV for newbies and old Vs. I always introduce hints. I do this basically the same and yet a little different every time. As you'll see, this tends to be informal. If there are questions, please, ask them, turn on your mic and ask them, or put it in the chat box, though. Maybe Lila, you can repeat it. Okay, and then I'm going to take a full hour for the topic. I find these topics that I choose, I believe they're all important, and they also give me an opportunity to get into them at a deeper level. So hopefully it helps both of us. Now, and then we'll talk about feedback, and today we're actually going to be doing two because we are behind two. So those of you who have been with us before, and either the last month or the month before, you'll be able to do your feedback now. And then we will do a new prediction. Okay, so let's start with what is ARV all about? First, let's look at it in linear time, okay? So time going typically from left to right. We begin the ARV with a remote viewing session. And this session is where you describe and sketch your feedback target. This is when you do your remote viewing and you're going to get information about the target that you're going to see in the future. So your feedback session, actually, we're going to be doing very similar things. We're really going to be focusing on whatever the target is, giving it a lot of attention, knowing that precognition and retrocausality entangle these two sessions. So the information that you're getting during your remote viewing session is entangled with what goes on at the feedback session. And so we make this as interesting, exciting as we can, and we'll actually be doing some of that. Now, this is actually regular remote viewing up to now, where you might have a target and you're asked to describe a target, the location of a missing person or something, and you give a transcript. But in ARV, we want to do more. We want to make specific predictions, and these predictions for us have been focused on predicting the outcome of sports or financials. You can use ARV for predicting multiple, one of multiple outcomes, but we do what is called binary ARV. And so during the analysis judging session of the remote viewing transcript, we have two possibilities, and we're about to show you how we treat that. So we're doing what's called binary ARV. Two possible choices. Ultimately, it comes down to yes, no. If we're doing financials, it might be up and down for price movements. If we're doing sports, it could be over under or team 1 or team 2. With the yes-no approach, or any other approaches for that matter, since there are 2 approaches, there are 2 possible targets. Notice the word possible. One of these targets is associated with yes. Guess what the other target is associated with? The other possible target is associated with no. Right here is the essence of ARV, because you've given you yourself a way of associating a outcome with one of 2 possible targets. The actual target shown during the feedback session will always be what actually happens. Remember, you're before the outcome. The feedback session is when you know the outcome. The sporting event, the financial event, occurs after the analysis judging, and it is then when the tasker, the group manager, sets up the feedback to be either yes or no, depending on the actual outcome. So no matter what else happens, you will always get your target associated with yes or no based on what actually happens. So sitting here as a judge, in the best of all circumstances, imagine if you're presented, and this may be you, but you've done your remote viewing session. You now, as a judge, get to look at these 2 possible targets, and one of them is really, really good. Let's say it's the yes. And the other one is, poor to moderate. Well, then you might actually judge this as a yes, and then you would see, hopefully, the yes transcript at feedback time. So that's where the association comes from, and that's where we can actually take action based on good matches to one or the other of the 2 possible targets. Now, this is indeed what many people are calling remote influencing. I used the word entanglement before. Same thing. From the feedback session, you are influencing. What are you influencing? You're influencing information. We'll be talking a lot about information and ideas from your brain, your mind here to your mind here. It's both you. You're doing the feedback session, you're doing the remote viewing session. Let's look at this in another way. ARV is a purposeful application of precognition. And in a very real sense, it begins with the feedback session. It's got nothing to do with linear time. It has to do with information. And you know during the feedback session the truth. You have in front of you the target. So it's really good to think about precognition beginning here, and you should spend a lot of focused energy here. It doesn't necessarily take a whole lot of time, but it's the focused energy, sort of feeling the sense of being entangled with the remote viewing session. So The tasking is always describe and sketch your, and we use 6-digit coordinates. Other people will use letters and numbers mixed. Let me turn off. Somebody's got their mic on. Okay, well, let me just take time to turn that off. So this is the tasking. The tasking is really simple. Describe and sketch your feedback target, okay? With that specific coordinate, which some people call it a TRN for target reference number. And I really like that because that's just what it is. This coordinate, this target reference number, you're also going to see that same number on top of your target during your feedback session. Okay, let's now talk about what the feedback target is. I've been vague. We use photo sites. In the past, people have used real sites. Certainly for remote viewing, people would take random sites and they would go out to those sites and actually do their feedback. So they spent a lot of attention to feedback by going to a physical site. We use photo sites. Now, what's a photo site? A photo site is related to a photo. You're going to be seeing a picture, which is a photo of a particular physical site location at a particular time, the time the photo was taken. It's a snapshot. But with a photo site, we recognize, and consciousness does this rather automatically, that consciousness moves to that site at the time the photo was taken, and it can describe and sketch anything that your sensory system can pick up from that site. When you look at a picture of a waterfall, you can almost hear the water. If you pay attention and imagine your fingers going into the water, you can feel the water. Or you might hear the word water come into you. The point is that in remote viewing, you get a lot more than the 2D information in the photo. Now, I don't want to underplay the 2D information in the photo. Geometry, just the geometrical shapes in the photo themselves are very valuable, but you can get more. You can get colors, which you can see directly. You can get the shapes, which you see directly. But you can also get sounds, smells, tastes, tactile sensations, emotions, anything that your normal nervous system and, in fact, intuitive system can pick up. So the key thing is you only want to report that which is readily verified or inferred from the photo. Because remember, during this judging stage, the judge is going to have two possible targets in front of him, and he's only going to be able to look at the photo. And he can send his consciousness there. He'll be able to know if there are sounds or smells, etc. But he won't know what's 100 yards away. And you as a remote viewer might actually have access to that, but don't do that, okay? Your job is to not do that. Now, this idea of it being purposeful, with that comes this idea of all these other really positive words. And that's the main point that I want to. You're doing this on purpose, but you're doing it in a loving way. You're feeling limitless. You know you're using your intuition. There are all kinds of really nice positive words up here, but it's this feeling of purposeful with love. You're doing something really good by taking this on. um, both for yourself and for the greater good. I think that's helpful. Okay, so meaningful and intentional. The word intention comes up here. Now, practice, practice, practice is actually a very old saying in many fields, including this one. And I repeat it here because it really is important. Joe McMonagle, 6 out of 7 days. He says he's retired, but he's probably semi-retired. But for as many years as he was in the business, which must have been over 30 years, he would do 6 sessions a week. And so practice, practice, practice is really a good thing. I want to show you these transcripts of the same remote viewing target done by different people to make the point that individuals will pick up different information, it's just the way it is, and they develop different styles. The one thing which is always in common is they'll always have a coordinate. You always should have the date and your name. So this is probably page 2 of a transcript because there's no name on here, or sometimes I cut them off. Okay, I want to point out what's called analytical overlays for your newbies, because one of the most important things which comes out of this work, which is useful in so many other areas, is the distinction between kind of the intellectual, high-level, day-to-day ego, intellectual, analytical self. You know, you get through your day, it's largely analytical. You're going on your normal ego self, and ego is a good word. That's where you've kind of learned all kinds of good stuff and the way you get through the day. But when you're remote viewing, what you want is information from your subconscious, and that has a different feeling. The best example of that is when a surprise comes up, like out of nowhere, right? That out of nowhere, where'd that come from? That stuff is from your subconscious. And here's a case where a person got the word vehicle, and words come up from the subconscious all the time. Spiraling, downward, concave, wood colored. A lot of this stuff is really good. Vehicle is not right, but notice the feeling was, he went from vehicle to helicopter. You know, this isn't quite a vehicle, but pretty close. This guy is moving. I can see where you would make, a judge would certainly give credit or partial credit for that. But the AOL here is what's particularly important in my mind. The person recognized that they went up into the intellect. Here's another one for the same target. Notice how different. This person picked up different aspects. Picked up the valley aspect here. Picked up the pricklies, valley of the rift, channel flow. The point here is just report mostly what your sub gets, but if you feel it's coming from the AOL, report it that way. In fact, here's another AOL here. A dark-skinned man dressed in white. The rule about AOLs are they're just that. They're AOLs. Usually they're not correct, but sometimes they are. And when they are, at least I, as a judge, give extra credit to them. And you can see here, not bad. The other thing I want to point out on this transcript is sound of fabric flapping in the wind. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. So here you've got somebody picking up the sounds that were going on at that site. And of course, consciousness can do that. And then this is the final one I'll show. Notice again these pricklies. Very interesting. Put on something which in the AOL column was marked as a porcupine, and that was really very, very good. Okay, so I think, and you can see the names. Okay, so I think I've made my point. Each of you, by the time the information from your deep sub, in fact, the universe of collective consciousness, comes up into your conscious mind and gets on the transcript, it's going to be different for each one of you because each one of you are different. Now, the whole point is just report what you get from your sub. Now, what kinds of stuff do you think you'll get from your sub, and what level of reporting do most people get? If you look at the words that are there, they're kind of the kind of words that are generic. You don't want to name things. You know, if you're saying Eiffel Tower, that's an AOL. You know, tall, metal, linear, you'll get different kinds of words. But high-level words are the AOL words. So these are examples of words, and these are the kind of categories that your texture, color, smells, taste, temperature, sounds, dimensions, aesthetic impacts. What are the feelings? And it could be feelings that are at the site or feelings that you're having, and you can distinguish those. So this is sort of the level of words which the subconscious comes up with. And sketches, usually partial sketches as you saw, the sub will put together the information in many interesting ways. And those are from the sub generally. You know, the images that come into you generally are from your sub. So those are golden. You should get everything that comes to you down, but I say pay particular attention to the sketches. Okay. Questions, comments? You're all okay pretty much with this? You know what? I think I can actually get my chat up. Okay, my chat box is up now. There's jitter. I don't know what to do about that. Okay. Okay, so we're back. So that's ARV. Period. It's an application of remote viewing. Let's now talk about intention and inertia in the UCC. The UCC is just a way of putting together, in my opinion, information that's been out there forever. But I put together this model going back to the time when I was working with Skip Atwater at the Monroe Institute. And I happen to think it's useful, and so I use it for explaining things. And I also believe it has within it basically a theory of everything because it has consciousness in it. But now let me show you what I mean by that. So if you let the blue here represent this UCC, and what do I mean by that? It contains everything consciousness touches. You know, one of the things you hear me say over and over and over and over and over again is this idea that consciousness is fundamental. We no longer change the themes of our workshops because what better theme can you have then consciousness is fundamental. And the fun is important because emotions get into this. Well, if consciousness is fundamental, then I want to start at the most fundamental level. And this is the most fundamental level I can imagine, which is represented by this circle, which contains everything consciousness touches, past, present, future, outside of space and time, spirit, whatever. If consciousness is there, it touched that thing in some now moment, it's in here. Now, one of the interesting things about this is really a circle without a boundary. Because if you try to imagine, think, feel something which you say, oh, no, that's outside. Well, as soon as you did that, guess what? It became inside. So this is a circle without a boundary. Actually, very much like our physical universe. You know, there's no wall out there in our physical universe. In some way, which is very difficult to understand, our physical universe has no boundary. Well, neither does the UCC. Now, no boundary and inside or out implies no separations down at the UCC level. There's a oneness, there's a harmony. This, I believe, is the ultimate place of spirituality. It's just there. You know, you can't talk about it. It's just everything is there. Now, what about things? We know there are things which seem to come out from this UCC. But the very fact that we're calling it a thing, we're separating it. It really can't ever be completely separated from the UCC since we're there with it. You know, it's conscious. We're talking about it. So there's a version of it in the UCC. But when we think of it as a separate thing, it has what I call a fuzzy boundary. Okay? And that is really true. It's hard to think of anything that doesn't have a fuzzy boundary of some sort. So look what we've introduced. We've introduced uncertainty. And we've introduced entanglement, which happen to be the two fundamental concepts in quantum mechanics, the uncertainty principle and entanglement between things. In this case, the entanglement through the fuzzy boundary goes down to the UCC, and guess what? It's then connected to everything. Now, we don't know how entanglement does that, but we do know that you would be entangled back to the UCC, and there's some uncertainty with you simply because you're coming out of the UCC. Now, there's another concept that I think is very important here, because this is a concept that we can work with, which is entanglement energy. Entanglement energy and a communication channel happen together. They're introduced really as part of the illusion of separateness. A lot of the Eastern traditions talk about illusion of separateness. Well, that's exactly when this thing comes out. We're now talking about it being an illusion of separateness. But to do that, it takes energy. This is where energy now comes into play. And with that energy and the vibrations and all that associated with it, we now have this communication channel and the entanglement all back with the UCC. So that's what the UCC is. your conscious mind is a thing with a fuzzy boundary. You know, we use that word. I'm feeling it right now. You can feel your conscious mind, what you have in it right now, the now moment, but it clearly is got edges, fuzzy boundaries to it. You know, how long is this moment exactly? How do I define that? Moving on to another moment. But what's amazing about the conscious mind is it's self-aware. Each of us right now have a self-aware moment which is unique to us. And that's connected in some way to the subconscious mind. I consider the subconscious mind to be everything else um, within you, related to you. It's your conscious mind. You're having this direct experience. And then you have your subconscious mind, your subby, okay? And it has a fuzzy boundary as well. So everything not in this now moment is somehow in your subconscious mind. And when I say you, I think right now I want to point out something. Notice this now moment is associated with, among other things, but is always associated with your genetic structure. Your gene, your DNAs are unique. And it's that how in the UCC, I believe these things are stored. So the UCC has this now moment stored with your genetic material, and somehow it's entangling that with all the other stuff in your genetic material. So I hope you can get that concept. It's a very important concept that the storage mechanism can be associated uniquely with you through your unique DNA. So we have these entanglements through the fuzzy boundaries and the UCC, and the entanglement energy is the way they kind of get connected, up and then to each other. And that entanglement is fundamentally happening in the UCC. It knows about all this stuff down there as well. Again, because maybe the DNA vibrations, there are other things that are certainly unique about you. But, and so the connections are both down there and up here in the physical world. Now, with that background, let's talk about inertia. Inertia, a word, okay? But remember, in the UCC knows words, but it's basically a place of ideas. And I want to try to make all that clear to you. Stuff goes on, plenty of stuff goes on without words. But let's look at the word inertia and what are the ideas? What does that mean? What is the essence of it? The red area, trying not to get to the fuzzy boundary part. So it's a thing. It's got a fuzzy boundary. Now, in the physical universe, it concerns mass. Notice the physical universe is also an idea in the UCC. The UCC has everything about the physical universe in it. The ideas of mass and time, all of the physics equations of quantum mechanics are in the UCC. Okay, space, time, energy. If there are future physical models which are better, that 100 years from now we're going to look back and say, well, yeah, quantum mechanics was okay, just like Newton's equations did a very good job, got us to a moon, but quantum mechanics are better. 100 years from now, we might have even a better model. It's down there now in the UCC. But the physical universe, as it really is a thing in the UCC. And there, inertia is defined as the resistance of any physical object to any change in its velocity. This includes changes to the speed or direction of motion. So, there's really 4 parameters there, but it doesn't matter. It's a change in its velocity, the direction it's moving in space and time. Now, mathematically, it's actually mass times velocity. What's so interesting about that is, and let me just say, in the physical world, it's well known, Newton's law, it takes forces to change inertia. Okay, so the inertia, mv, will stay the same unless you apply a force. Now, in the UCC, it's an idea that concerns not changing other ideas. Okay, down here, it's all about ideas. It's an idea of the physical world and all the things that go on in there. But this is a world of ideas. It seems to be organized that way. And here is another definition of inertia, which sort of got at it, and I liked it when I found it. A tendency to do nothing or remain unchanged. In the physical world, if you don't put forces on an object, and you see that on the ice, it takes a long time for a heavy object on ice to slow down. In space, it won't slow down actually at all, except for very far away influences of, mass. But a tendency to do nothing or remain unchanged. And they have a lot of words here, but I sort of said laziness. In other words, if you don't put some work on this, it's going to stay the same. And guess what? That is going to be relevant to the ideas we have in our heads, belief systems that we have. It's so easy to not even consider changing them, right? That's kind of a normal, lazy approach. And then those ideas won't change. So here you are. I'm using this symbol for the psychic. When, there's a you who might be a spouse, son or daughter. When you're at business, you're a different kind of person. You sort of have a different mode of operating. Well, this is your psi mode, and that's the symbol for your psi mode. And we're always talking about how to develop that. I hope the fact that you're here, you're interested in doing that. And now we've talked about inertia. This topic here includes intention as well. And as a first example of intention, I want to associate this with walking. There's just so much to learn from the example of intention and walking. The babies, okay, let's start here. Consciousness obviously starts even before birth, right? We know that. But let's just look at this leading up to walking. So let's just now focus on the first year or so of life. Now, here again, another definition: intention, intent, purpose, design, aim, an object, objective, goal, mean what one intends to accomplish or obtain. See, that's pretty intellectual. The one which I think is most important is intention implies little more than what one has in mind to do or bring about. So in your conscious moment mind, there's this thing called intention which you might want to bring about, okay? Now, notice at these early stages, almost all babies learn how to walk within a year or so. It's their intention which changes the inertia, say, from crawling, which also took a lot of learning, right? You're here and everything is given to you. You drink your bottle. You're doing a tremendous amount of learning here. Tactile, you look at your mama, your papa, the amount of conscious moment stuff with the DNA vibration going down and organized in the UCC that way is obviously tremendous. I think most people totally underestimate what happens in the first few years of life. More and more I've now heard, I heard someone just the other day say the first 7 years, but I think by year 7, it's actually decreased. I think it's increasing. It's increased and gradually decreases because you're already adding now to earlier information. Okay. 1 or 2 years. Now, it's learned by the body and the UCC. All of this is happening in the physical world through the mind-body UCC connection. That's why you were in that diagram I showed before. So all of this learning is going on. But notice you haven't even learned the words yet. Okay, but once learned, okay, now we've jumped ahead in age. Once learned, inertia in walking is similar to, and I didn't quite know what word to use, stuff in your automatic or autonomic nervous system, like your heart and breathing. Your subconscious takes care of that all the time. You don't pay much attention to it. You know, if you do, you can actually lower your heartbeat, and certainly you can change the rhythm of your breathing. But most of the time it goes on its merry way, and thank goodness for that. You don't, you don't know all the complicated stuff that's involved. The same thing with walking. I mean, if you look at everything that's involved with the person walking, and he's walking and talking, I mean, it's tremendous. All the muscle control and everything that's involved, I think you get it. But it has been learned in that first year. And it's down there in the subconscious as something which you do. Now, intentions about walking fundamentally involve the UCC. I guess that's one of the main themes I hope you come away with here. And this is what activates this learned body response. Walk. Notice all of this, or most of it, went on before you even knew the word walk. You now are standing on a corner and there's a green light, and that motivates you to walk. You just do it. It's, again, another kind of entanglement. It's there's a desire to do it. You look at this picture. What would be one of the major gestalts? Something like walk. And the word walk, while you're doing a ARV session, walk will come up. what's important to recognize is this communication channel is always both ways. What's going on in each of these persons' conscious moments right now is being recorded down at the UCC, and the UCC is responding. I mean, they just keep walking, and it may give them other information based on what they're seeing. You know, this woman is looking at something here. Other thoughts related to what she's seeing may come up. It's always going both ways. Okay, so it's always active. It's this fundamental information, and the UCC is the storehouse. That's the fundamental. I guess I've said it over and over, but that is the message. What about sounds, right? What about words themselves? Here comes, you know, from a piece, Baby Milestone. Mama and Dada may slip out and bring tears to your eyes as early as 6 months. Might be 18, 2 years. Where are they learning to say this? I mean, how do they get their whole body to vocal cords and all that to work? The subconscious does all that because it's imitating what it hears, and it figures it out. That's kind of remarkable, right? Children can learn any language. In fact, at early age is when children can learn lots of languages. And the subconscious just has all of this capability to store stuff. And, you know, scientists are trying to figure out where it's stored in the physical brain, and they certainly find relationships with language, but they're not willing at this point to say that those physical parts of the brain indeed are connected to something much deeper, which is the UCC, which is where the organization really is. And all of that happened with this particular baby in a way which is unique based on and connected based on its DNA. And notice this relationship right here is down in the UCC as well. And it's connected. And their vibrations are entangled because of their interaction. And don't you think their entanglement energy might be stronger than this baby with the baby on the other side of the, or a mother on the other side of the earth? Okay, all of that is just so natural, and all of that happens in the UCC, with the subconscious being the intermediary communication channel. So words and ideas in general have inertia in the UCC. These are like personal entanglements. Again, it gets hard to exactly talk about this, but hopefully you're getting the idea. They're personal because they're connected to your DNA, let's call it your personal vibration. And it's you that create the importance and meaning out of all of this. And a lot of that comes from learning and emotions. I want to give another example that's more relevant to ARV. The money. Now, money is a concept, right? It's an idea. It's got a fuzzy boundary. And in the UCC, let's talk a little bit about beliefs and inertia. Now, you know, because of the constant information going down into each of us with our personal vibration, the inertia of anything associated with that changes. That's what causes things to change. But as they get more and more massive, they get harder and harder to change. It's just like the physical world. Okay, so I just had this great image of a piece of clay, this large, and you throw a small piece of clay at it, and it's going to move. You then bring it back, but notice the piece of clay got bigger. You throw another one, you throw another one, you throw another one. By the time you throw 1,000 of them, the next one you throw is not going to move that same piece of clay very much. You're going to have to do more work to change the motion of that piece of clay. It's the exact same thing with ideas, with anything in the UCC. Okay, it gets its inertia based on all of the kind of entanglements and interactions with it. Okay, so here we have a nice positive image, right? Almost all of us as youngsters had something like piggy banks, and we taught a little bit about money. And hey, the first time you go up and you buy your first thing from the store, it's always a lot of fun. And I actually think most people's introduction to money tend to be rather positive. But then lots of other ideas come into play. Money to burn. We think at the intellectual level, my God, I would be so happy if I won the lottery, right? But down in the UCC, there may be other thoughts. There may be a lot of negative thoughts and feelings like, gee, I know rich people have such a really bad reputation now. Most of them got their money in terrible ways, right? Maybe they were gangsters, or they cheated, or they stole, or they were in big corporations and taking way too much profits rather than giving it. We have a lot of negative thoughts about that. This goes back, I think this is a religious idea that money is the root of all evil. What if that was taught to you at a young age? A lot of people believe money is a limited resource. Hey, if I get a lot, somebody else, I must be taking it from somebody else. It's selfish to want a lot of money. The rich get rich, the rich get richer, and the poor get poorer. I mean, that's sad. We have our emotions. And if that's down there, that could be a limiting factor for you being successful at something like ARV if you're doing it for money, because there might be a part of you that doesn't really want to get a hit every time, because if you got a hit every time, man, we'd want you in our fund and you would make a lot of money. You might say, I'm just not good with money. Only corrupt, dishonest, unethical people have lots of money. And maybe you make it too important. Or maybe, it's only money. In which case, maybe part of you say, okay, well then why the hell do I want to get a hit? If money is the objective, if that's down there. And guess what? A lot of these thoughts are, and I say thoughts, by the time they're down in the UCC and connected to you through your subconscious, they're not thoughts. They're at this level of ideas. They're at this level of a connected thing in the UCC that's entangled with all the other things. And it is related to anything you're doing that wants to entangle with the money thing. So beliefs and inertia. Let's say a little bit about that. Modifying beliefs with intentions and expectations grounded in the UCC. Now, I think this is ultimately, at least what I mean by beliefs, and the part of the belief thing that I'm talking about. And that is conviction of the truth of some statement or idea. So some idea thing, you're just convinced it's absolutely true. You know, it may or may not be, and it may be partially true, but there you are. It's a belief thing deep in you, and it's connected to some statement or idea, and it's got the ring of truth. Let me tell you, that's why feedback sessions are so important, because that is a true truth moment about the target. Now, and we're all interested in truth. Okay, so how do you modify beliefs with intentions and expectations? And you have to realize all of this is grounded in the UCC. First, you have to believe you can. So many people will say over and over again, I can't get colors. When I do remote viewing sessions, hey, I can see people, I can do other things, but I can't get colors. And they believe that. And guess what? It's true for them. You know, so that's great. But if there's a belief that you indeed want to change, you really have to get over the fact that, yes, here's where you are, but you got to get over the fact that you can't change it. Believe that you can make the change, and you're halfway there. Now, here is another application of this really great insight of Joe McMonagle. I would consider him to be certainly one of, if not the best, one of the best remote viewers in the world, but probably the best highly public remote viewer in the world. He's done so much in that way. And Ed May, who's been in this field for a very long time, since probably the late 70s, 1970s. He's written all kinds of stuff. He's compiling all kinds of stuff. So he's the scientist part. Here's the remote viewer part. And what they concluded, and notice Joe's the first author of this one. So this is coming from a remote viewer. What is clear, at least to those of us on our long-established team, is that intention, attention, and expectation play a very important role in the success of both application and research of remote viewing. Intention, attention, expectation. So let's talk a little bit about that in this context. Okay, so we know what the blue is. That's the UCC. Right, all kinds of things in there with fuzzy boundaries that are in the UCC level. Fortunately, you have the ability to ignore events. I'm calling events are just multiple nows in your life that were meaningful to you. You know, you watch the Super Bowl game, okay? Well, that's a thing. You watching the Super Bowl game is a thing. It's down in the UCC, and it's an event, and it involved a lot of now moments. Um, um, but I don't think you'd want to remember all the now moments in your life right now, right? That would be overwhelming. It's marvelous that we're limited in seeing some now moments, and we get to influence that with our free will, etc. Okay, but you can ignore events. That decreases entanglement. You can increase entanglement. You know, when you think of something more and more, you feel about something more and more. So let's connect this. I've done this before with this being remote viewing and this being the remote viewing session and the feedback session. It's the same idea with beliefs. So one event is you with a belief you would like to modify. And I gave what was not a bad example. Okay, you know, up to now I have really thought that I can't do colors when I do my remote viewing session. Um, and I can give lots of reasons for that. I miss colors a lot of the time. I mean, a lot of good reasons for that. Right? You know, you would say that's why you believe it's true. But what you want to do now is go to a new belief, which is a modified belief. And I suggest small steps. Maybe I definitely believe that in the long term, I'm going to be able to nail those colors. And not only that, I recognize that it's my future self that's going to be teaching me how to do that. Okay, I'm giving you the kind of ideas that I think are the most powerful because the future is connected to the present. And start imagining your future now that can do it really well. But you know what? For now, I'm just going to look for some modest improvement, okay? And I'm feeling that that's going to happen now. Oh, yeah, I can see, oh, yeah, I become really happy in some of my future feedback sessions because I'm getting more and more colors. Oh, yeah, that feels really good. Oh, yeah. Okay, you're doing that now. You're doing that now. So your consciousness is creating a kind of handshake with these two events, an entanglement, and you enhancing the entanglement energy with your intention and expectation. Okay, so you're intending to do it, you're expecting to do it, and you will do it. You have to feel that confident. How is all of this? What is all of this going on? This idea about the unconscious mind, which of course we call subconscious, un implies not. There's no such thing as not conscious. So subconscious. So there's you. This is your subconscious under here, and under it all, touching it all, is the UCC, past, present, future, right? Everything is in here. So this is your conscious mind, the now moment. Somewhere between the conscious mind and the subconscious is our operating ego. I put it there. That's how I feel it is. I mean, your ego is getting information from the subconscious mind. Your day-to-day living certainly involves lots of stuff coming up this way. So I will put that there, but there's a lot more. Now, actions, thoughts, feelings, changing beliefs, all of that has to happen up here, but it's coming from down here. So I think hopefully you've got that message, and it's a two-way street. this is mind under construction all the time. And I love that this said minds, because the conscious mind, you know, is always changing. I mean, one moment you've got the now moment, but it's gone, and there's a somewhat different now moment. And then there's the unconscious mind, your personal unconscious mind, the one associated with your vibration. You know, people talk about higher minds. Absolutely. All of that stuff is there. And that has to be somehow connected to be meaningful with your subconscious mind. So when you do a very deep meditation and get involved with these, what many would call a higher mind, you've made that connection, and now it's part of you, and it's in your part of the UCC. Okay, so there that is. And here, in trying to bring this all together, actually roughly on time, I want to talk about precognitive telepathy. By that I mean, if this is now, when you're doing your work on modifying your belief, okay, so this is now. You have the intention of, in the future, having that modified belief be true. You now believe that you can do colors, okay? Also, the expectation, and I want you to understand the difference between these two because they are different. Intention is looking from the now toward the future, and you are intending the future to be much brighter in your ability to RV colors. Expectation is different in the sense that you have a confidence that it's already done. It's happened. It's like the future is telling you it's a done deal. It's a whole different feeling. You don't put any of your energy in intending for the sun to rise tomorrow, right? You have no sense, no feeling of that. But you do have an expectation that the sun will rise tomorrow. How does that feel? You know, it's a confidence you have. You know, you go to bed at night and the sun's going to be there in the morning. There's going to be a sunrise. It's that expectation feeling which is connected to the future. So when you do, and I call this precognitive telepathy because that's just what it is. You are a different mind here than you are here. And that's what telepathy is, mind to mind communication. The beauty of this is it's your mind. And yeah, I don't know how else to say it. I hope you get that. I'm going to end this. This is the presentation on the UCC with intentions and inertia. So this would be how you would change the inertia of a belief. Questions, comments? The love of money is the root of all evil. What did I say, Steve? Oh, I said just money is the root of all evil. Okay, that's good. I'll change that. Can I elaborate more about the DNA factor? Yes. And thank you for asking that because I think it's one of the most important insights to get deep down in you, in your I psi you. You are a unique individual. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Each of us are different. We know that. And the word vibration gets used, and it gets used appropriately. You know, we all usually think of vibrations like sound vibrations, and, you know, those things are relatively simple. Color is a little more complicated because it's electromagnetic, but you can think of what's coming out of your genetic structure as putting out unique vibrations because of the way all those genes are put together, you know, all of that stuff. We've seen the pictures of the helix and all of that, but yours is unique. So the idea of you having a unique vibration, and I think it's related to the DNA in a very big way, but I'm sure there are other things that people would say, oh yeah, but that's unique to me too. Fine. Okay. Now, and in fact, your vibration is changing in time, but you have a unique vibration. Now, that is like what would be called in many other disciplines a signature. That's a unique signature of you. So when a conscious moment, like this one right now, or a conscious collection of moments like this webinar workshop, okay, you're experiencing it in a unique way from everybody else who's here. You know, there's not just one webinar going on at the level we're talking about. Each of these of your conscious moments, and when this is all over, the whole event is going down through the now moment, which you experience here, down through your subconscious mind, and is stored. You've got to be really careful here, but you know, in normal language, you would say stored in the UCC. But the UCC already had it. And we can talk about that also, because you see, you are the creator of it, right? You're clearly the creator of it. Whatever you're thinking right now, to reacting to what I'm saying, you're creating part of that moment. You're reacting to it. As you're listening to it, you know, there are marginal things going on that are in your consciousness that are going down here as well. So it is stored down here. Hopefully sometime in the future, you would like to remember that and maybe apply it to some belief. Okay, how do you do that? Well, memory is a wonderful thing that we have. You choose to remember an idea. Let me see, what was that? That was a thing about modifying beliefs. And then it's sort of amazing how memories come in. They come in like remote viewing stuff comes in. They like all come in at once. It's like the whole thing is present, because that's how it's stored down there in the UCC using your personal signature. So I hope that helped. Who asked that? Is there, you know, you can turn on your mic and we can talk too. Okay, I'm looking at the chat box. Oh yeah, money is not good. And don't think you have to feel that money is energy, because that's all it is. Money is potential energy, just like all other forms of potential energy. I think that's the truth of it. But people's beliefs about it are different. Telepathy is mind-to-mind communication. Yep, thank you. I think money is an energy, nothing to, yes, I agree. I agree, but some people have that deep in their being and it limits them. If they
I think
believe
this is Sorry, could I just interrupt? I think this is
Yes,
like our society is constructed this way to say, oh, money is a root of evil, don't get money, feel guilty when you have money. But actually, you know, without money, you cannot help anybody in need. You cannot buy the bread. You cannot go, you know, and help someone in need. That's how I used to run charity, you see. And I know money is very useful. It's like with the knife. You can take the knife and kill someone, but you can go with the same knife, cut the bread and put the honey on it and feed somebody, right? It's a tool,
exactly.
let's say, yeah?
That's exactly right. Thank you. And the point is, if you've got that deep in your gut, um, then it's not an issue for you. But some people think that, yeah, it's okay. I don't have a problem with money, but they may. And that's the point of that is these engrams, these ideas in the mind started earlier in your life, perhaps, and it may be limiting. In which case, and it'll sometimes it'll come up like you get miss after miss, and you might just ask your sub and take a look at something like that, or ask yourself, what is it? Is there some belief down there that's limiting me? It's clear the money one got you. It's a bit scary that the future me can communicate me. I didn't assume this is possible. Exactly right, Steve. So best to have love energy, right? Well, precognition is real. Um, and the scary part is so interesting because it comes up so often um, with newbies, and not even newbies. I have a sister-in-law who can pick cards. You know, we'll have a deck of cards, shuffle. She'll say, oh, it's red, it's a diamond. She'll do the next one. Oh, it's a 10. She'll do the next one. She'll do 3 or 4 in a row, and then suddenly she'll like start back out of fear. And she doesn't even know where that fear comes from. And I don't even know where a lot of that fear comes from. I think it comes from our society thinking it's weird. It's certainly different. You don't want to be labeled as being different, but getting over this and having love with you is the best way to get over facing the truth of precognition, because we know precognition is true. Let's see, future memories. Yep, that's another way of talking about precognition. I really like that way because the idea of it being a memory gives the feeling that it's already there, which is true. That's what the UCC concept says. Okay, you're welcome, Patricia. Memes. Memes? How do you pronounce that? Memes? Memes. Okay, no other comments, questions? Genes, memes. Thank you. In fact, that'll help me remember it too.
Exactly. Memes are things that are just like genes, but they're placed in between our conscious and our subconscious. And sometimes we know they're there, but most of the time we don't. And they're what change our perception of what's actually happening.
Yeah. See, I would say they're placed in the UCC, and the subconscious accesses them when it's appropriate in terms of the way it's done entanglements. But that's not much different than the way you said it. In other words, you sort of put it up here.
Yes.
I would just put them down here. That's all.
Yeah, and I guess basically it's because I don't have any idea what's going on down below that line. So if it's below that line, it's at the line for me.
It could be either place. That's right.
Exactly.
And it is effectively.
Yep.
And the mystery is what crosses in there. But the UCC model is a way of looking at that.
Yeah, that's a new thing for me. I appreciate it, Marty. Thanks. The UCC.
Okay. So, wait, do I have something here? Private? No. So let's move to the next phase, which is feedback. Why don't we take a little stretch? I think I need a little stretch.
Marty, I'm going to have to bail out now. So,
Mhm.
but thanks. I really appreciate
No,
what
I've structured these like this now on purpose
purpose.
so that
Perfect.
people can come in and out whenever they want. And thank you for joining us up to here.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Marty.
Good.
Bye, everybody.
Okay. What happened here? So there are two feedbacks we need to do. Now, I think we do have some newbies here, and I'm going to go through this for the newbies, and there are often newbies who will look at the recording of this. So this is a email, a typical email, and emails are the way we communicate with our ARV protocol, which is called WE for winning entanglements. And everything is done over the internet. And it's really very simple. For example, the people who are going to be doing feedback on this particular one got this email. It indicates what the event was. And remember, the tasking was a month ago. The tasking was on April 8th. And we did it on February 6th. And this is for the euro versus US dollar. And all they have to do is click on this link. So they would get this in their email as part of this group. And I hope all of you are part of either our sports group or financial groups. We have like 3 sports groups, 5 financial groups. And it works just like this, except there, the predictions come back at a much faster rate. You can have them come back in just a day or two. I give the tasking 5 days notice. Okay, so euro, US dollar, this is Forex, so the European dollar versus the US dollar for a month in the future. So that's one. And then all you have to do is click there. And that's how simple most of the
Sorry,
protocol.
could I just ask the
Yeah,
question?
of
Because
course,
I'm new
always,
here.
please interrupt.
Obviously, I did remote viewing in the past, but I
Right.
was actually viewing past events, never really, like future events. So
Mhm.
am I going to view this event as a normal CRV protocol?
When we get to that, I'm going to suggest you do just stages, maybe 1, 2, maybe a little of 3, what you can get down on 1 or 2 sheets of paper.
Right.
Because remember, the idea is to just put enough down to be able to distinguish between 2 possible targets. So we don't need to know the details of where the missing person is.
No, I understand.
Yeah. Okay. So some people still give me full CRV sessions just because they like to do it as training, because they are going to get a target. But
Right.
mostly for ARV, I think 1 or 2 pages, 3 pages, some people do. That's really enough.
I stick to
Especially,
1 page, like essence of this, what I view, right?
exactly.
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you.
The other one, the event was the Australian dollar versus the US dollar. And then again, all you would do is have to click there. Now, before we do that, if you remember, there's that outcome stage. And both of these now have had their outcome. And you probably can't really read this, but this goes back to the time frames that both of those wanted. Here's like December 6th, I think it was, and this was January 2nd. Anyway, they both turned out to be up. So they were both up. And in both cases, that was side 2. Now, which is random, photo side B. So before we do it, I want to remind you that precognition begins with what we're about to do. So this is a very important session. Having the really strong intent, paying a lot of attention, and especially to the photo site target, because that's the truth point, is really important now. This is the time. Did you know, and this comes from the Minds Journal, your subconscious mind is 30,000 times more powerful than your conscious mind? I happen to think that's an underestimate, and I don't have the slightest idea how they came up with the number. But the fact that they were brave enough to put down a number, I thought it was worth repeating. But the subconscious mind is much more powerful than the conscious mind. Now, what to get and be aware of when you're doing a feedback session, and also while you're doing remote viewing, but now we're talking about feedback, is that all that exists within consciousness, including all concept of space and time. So everything is within consciousness. This is the UCC statement, okay? All that is, including all remembrances of so-called history, and that's past and future. Space and time exist within you. Conscious awareness. You are conscious awareness. I mean, this very moment, you're experiencing something. And what's amazing is that you are aware that you're experiencing something. This is the most fundamental aspect of you, frankly. Everything else comes from that. There's nothing that you know for more truth than this particular conscious moment. It's in that sense that you are the eternal now. The eternal now is the collection of all the conscious now moments. So here you are at the intersection between the past and the future, and you have no choice. That's where you always are, right? You know, tomorrow, it may seem you can imagine tomorrow, but when it's here, you're going to be here. All the intersection of the past and the future is where you are, and there's nowhere else that you can be. One last quote, because, you know, I've talked about entanglement, and entanglement is between things. One of the most surprising discoveries of modern physics is that objects aren't as separate as they may appear. When you drill down into the core of even the most solid-looking material, separateness dissolves. All that remains, like the smile of the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, are relationships extending curiously throughout space and time, past and present. These connections were predicted by quantum theory and were called spooky action at a distance by Albert Einstein. One of the founders of quantum theory, Erwin Schrödinger, dubbed this particularity entanglement, saying, "I would not call that one, but rather the characteristic trait of quantum mechanics. This fact that you can have entanglement in the physical world at things which are further apart than the speed of light." That's what Einstein wouldn't accept. And that's what we have here. Entanglement between things, past, present, and future. The time, space, distance doesn't matter. And that's what entanglement is in the physical world, and that's what entanglement is in the UCC. So here are any of you that are here, did you do either of these? Because I'll go forward with this. Yeah, Lila, you did actually. Did you do a feedback session, Lila?
I didn't do a feedback session. I must have missed it.
Okay, why don't you do it now?
Okay.
And I can't remember which one of these two are yours. In fact, wait a second. Funny enough, no. Okay. Well, I wanted to give an example.
I don't know how to get my. I don't know how to get my number. How to get my.
Yeah, I'll get that for you in a minute. And let me, for everybody, show an example of one for the Euro, just so they understand what we're talking about on how to do this. Okay, and then I'll give you some time to do it, and then maybe we can actually look at yours. Okay. Nobody else has one. So first, this is the idea. When you click on that link, and you have to have the coordinate to do that. This is an example from Bill, who isn't here. You get your transcript. Up will pop the, when you click on that link, the feedback, and you compare the two, and you really get into this. Look at this. Wow. Isn't that interesting? And you look at what match. You know, he certainly got the circular part of this. Look at the lines that he got. You make it real. He even got water. And I would guess this is a water tank. Looks like a big jar. And so when you get a hit like this was, you feel really, really good about it. And you then actually do another session where you might repeat some of the stuff you got before, but now you add things like you drew. He would add that this was taller, draw some lines. You don't sketch it. You do it the way you would do your remote viewing session. So you would probably just do a little sketch like that, choo, 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 and that's all. And you might add metal. You know, it would have been nice if the word metal came up, green, vegetation, which is in here, which he didn't get any of. You would add that saying, hey, sub, thank you. We did a great job here. You did a great job, but let's do a little more. Next time, I would appreciate that, and I know we can do it together. And that's it. So that's what you do in a remote viewing session. Lila, let me find.
Marty, I got a hit. Yay!
Oh, you found it then, right?
I found it, yes, and I'm just now emailing it to you.
Oh, and you did the session?
Well, no, I didn't do the session. I just saw the picture. I think I'll do the session after the webinar. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
After we finish today, I'll do the session.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
My transcript showing you what I got.
Okay. Do you have the picture too? Can you send something like this? Okay, good. Send both of these.
Okay.
And we'll do the same thing. Now, notice what Lila did. And that, you know what? And I think that might be a better format anyway, Lila. I'll show examples and okay, of the transcript. But the feedback session is another session. But notice what Lila did. She saw she got a hit. She got a good match. She felt really good about it. And that's exactly what you want to do. Let me know when you sent it, Lila, and I'll go over to it. Some people say, hey, is feedback really important? Now, they say that because in the straight remote viewing community, It is actually known, and it is true sometimes, that you do not need feedback. There are examples. Pat Price did a session. The feedback never came in the normal sense until after he died. Okay, so they would be saying, obviously you don't need feedback. Now it turned out he was remote viewing something the Russians had, so the information was available in the physical plane by reading somebody else's consciousness. But he didn't get feedback in the sense we're talking about. These same remote view, yeah, you sent it?
I'm sorry. Yes, I just sent it. Sorry.
Okay. The same remote viewers will acknowledge that having feedback makes them feel much better, that it's helpful. They always would like feedback. But is it really, really important? The answer, guess what, is yes. Let's go to Lila now, and let's go see what she has here. Okay, there's this. And there's, let's see what orientation. Okay, so that one, let me put here. I want to show these obviously at the same time and rotate yours. So it's going to take me a moment, but it'll be worth it. In fact, you know what, Lila? I don't think you would mind this. I'm going to have you do a feedback session in real time. Would you mind that?
Okay.
If that's uncomfortable for you?
No, not at all. No.
Yeah, you've been around long enough and done enough of these.
Yeah.
Oh, I just closed something. I hope it wasn't important. Let me see. What did I close? Okay. So I just want to turn your transcript so we can read it. And I want to emphasize this is a whole new session. There are 3 sessions: the RV session, the judging session, and then the feedback session. Okay, I'll turn this using Snagit. I don't know how many of you use Snagit, but it's really a nice tool. So I will copy this.
Oh.
And I have to open the editor. I just have to move this out of the way. And edit. Okay, where is it? Too many of these. There's a rotate here someplace. Is it arrange? Rotate. Okay, so we have you there. And here. Okay, so get out a new sheet of paper and tell us what you're doing, or if you do it,
Oh, I do it on the original, and then I just use a different color pen.
Okay.
So that I know which was added after.
And notice the A's and B's. What she's looking at here, she had her original transcript, and notice the B was 5, which was in fact a hit. And after she does a transcript, when she's looking at the 2 possible targets, she puts a big A if it's a good match, a little A if, occasionally I've seen people, and I do that, I'll put a giant A because to indicate a very good match. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, well, so first of all, this is photosite B. So photosite B was the hit. That's why there's a little A there. And photosite A, I like to recall what the no was. And so down at the very bottom, you'll see an A.
Can I stop? I'd like to stop you. Only because it's my webinar. The viewer is in charge. The viewer gets to do whatever they like. I always recommend, and I'm recommending it now as clearly as I can, that you do nothing with the other possible target. Nothing. You just, it's gone. You don't want to give it any energy at all. In fact, I would even suggest that you do not put something like this down there, because guess what? You're giving it a little bit of energy now, and you gave it.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So don't discuss it now. So just go ahead and you look at the picture, and boy, that was a nice flash, wonderful picture. Go ahead and do your feedback session.
Okay. So let's see. Well, you can see all the B's I have, and I'm really actually down at the sounds. If I skip down to where the sounds are, I wasn't even, now I'm thinking about it, trickles, dripping.
Yeah.
Well, that's what snow does when it melts. It trickles and it drips. So I'm going to put big B's for that now.
Okay, good. So yeah, you modify your again, the viewer's in charge, and that's absolutely fine. You are generating a new transcript. It just happens to be on the old one.
Yeah. So look at my AOLs.
Boy, those are good. You did that's a wonderful 5. When we talk about 5s, this is the kind of 5 we'd like to see.
The textures.
Beautiful.
We're mostly, I mean, the colors, just everything about it. I'm just really amazed. So I personally am not much of a person to draw. I don't care for the drawing part of it. I just scribble. But my words are the descriptors.
Yes.
And that's what I place a very heavy. Although my very first ideogram was the big arch piece that you see there. And that was probably just the mountain.
Yep. No,
and then the wavy is the water.
That looks good.
So I think I probably could have given it a 6.
That looks really good. You're feeling so good about it.
I'm feeling great.
What was your first impression Gestalt when you look at this?
My first impression Gestalt was the arch the big tall one that I drew. That was the first one, and then I just started getting outdoors and dirt and nature. Just
beautiful.
Mountains.
Okay, now I always suggest, and I'll suggest it to you now, and you've got room there to actually add something which you didn't have, saying, you know what, this was great, and this really was great, but what didn't you get? I mean, you got so much.
Well, I didn't get snow, and that's a...
Okay, put the word snow, and also draw very crudely, rather than this arch, draw a shape like this with line underneath, and maybe a wiggle for the water. Just something simple like that. And as you're doing that, try to give up the belief that you don't do good sketching.
Okay. Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. And thank you. And I really, Lila, I've seen your work. I think you could up it by stopping putting this stuff down here.
Okay. And you know what? I just scribbled it out with my pen.
Yeah. But in the future, it all begins with the feedback session. This weakens the feedback session.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yep.
Okay, and thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. Let me see, I have a little bit more. Okay, I want to comment on feedback being very important. And you even saw the interaction I had there. There's just so many subtleties that can get involved with it. But it's the key. At SRI, Stanford Research Institute, where remote viewing, using that word at least, started, they were really exceptionally successful. What they did is they did what was called outbounder experiments. They took, they would do a standard remote viewing experiment. One person would go out to a site. It would be randomly chosen after they left the building. And they had 100 envelopes with them, and they would use a random number generator, and they would go to that place, play around, do whatever they did there, come back. The remote viewer had his session, of course, and then after his session was done, they would all go out to the site. So they took a lot of time and energy discussing and comparing the target to the actual prediction. Imagine when you're actually at the site and looking at that mountain and the water, or that water thingy that we saw before. You know, you could go up and touch it. They had the direct experience of being there. We can make that happen. Our consciousness can make that happen, and that's what should happen at feedback time. So, and they did extraordinarily well. So they were entangling the transcript and the feedback target big time. Now, here's what I suggest for hits. Just, you know, your mindset is, Lila was a perfect example. Hey, I got a hit. It feels really good. Feel really good about it. Celebrate. Enjoy feeling really good. Notice all the matches in your transcript. Feel really happy. Your communication channel is working well. Have an M&M. Ingo Swann used to use M&Ms a lot. Hey, if you don't like M&Ms, have an apple. One guy I know takes a slice of key lime pie. But that's the whole idea. You just, look, all of you wants to be happy as much as possible. Enjoy it. You know, down in the UCC, you're now adding all these happy vibrations. That's got to be a good thing. You know, when you look back at your life, you know, I think one way is to count all those happy moments. So these are them. And then we have a feedback text box. Just write your good feelings down and anything else that happened, and be really good. If you've learned something, put that down there. Now, what do you do about the misses? Well, you want to encourage less and less of those. Nevertheless, they're part of the reality. So you want to learn how to get more and more hits. Now, misses are a perfect opportunity to learn something. The feedback session is really more important for misses than for hits. And you should do good ones for hits. I don't want to take anything away from it. But here you are. You take full responsibility for the miss. Too many people blame. Don't blame. Why blame? You know, someday, just like the really, really good viewers, you'll be able to describe any photo. If you have, and you think you have, reasons for not doing it, take a look at those reasons and see if you can make them disappear. You know, hey, I couldn't get colors, and this was dominated with colors. Okay, work on getting colors. That's just sort of a signal for you to do that. And say that. And in your remote viewing session, which is on either another sheet of paper or your original transcript, you will put all the colors down, but just don't write them intellectually. Feel them. Feel them going down through your subconscious into the UCC. they have a vibration. You know, the color blue has a very different vibration than the color red, right? Or the color yellow. So as you're putting the word down, the word is just an idea for the thing of blue and the feeling of it and everything having to do with it. So you're using this session to teach yourself how to do colors in this example. And look, it's hard to admit this, but I'm not perfect, and I don't think any of you are perfect. You know, did you really stick to your RV protocol? Did you do what you intended to do? Did you rush it? All of those things. Just look back at that. That could be a partial reason for the miss. Did you set strong positive intention and expectation? Did you pay attention to the stuff that your sub was giving you? Did stuff flash by and maybe you missed it? And you know what? That's teaching you to pay more attention next time, that's something you have to learn. If you do self-judging or if you have an independent judge, how did the analysis judging phase go? Notice you're at feedback time now, so the remote viewer and the analyst look at the feedback. That adds more energy to the feedback, and they can discuss it, but only discuss the real target. We only want to add energy to the real target. Don't want to even think about the fact that there was another target. You know, in a remote viewing sense, there's just one target. And that's the point of view we have. It's only during this minor judging thing that two targets come up. So do you think your judging analysis was off for that target? Notice you're looking at the correct target. You're looking at your transcript. Maybe it should have been judged a lot higher. You know, maybe, in fact, you did a good job on that target. You know, it's a miss. So first time around, you didn't think it was, but how about now? And if it isn't, so, you know, so be it. You still have a lot to learn. You still do the session where now you do the session you wish you had done before, but using your remote viewing senses. You know, you don't overlay sketch it. You do a rough mountain interface, you know, something for water. You say water. You make it a one-page transcript, which is more than enough to capture that target, so the judge would have given it a 5 or more. Know that you will get there. Keep a positive attitude all the time, knowing that the future you has this ability and is working with you now to increase your capabilities. Okay, and get there is as you define it, and that might change. You know, you might, in terms of something simple like hit rates, you might want to get kind of a steady hit rate of 65% now. That's what you're looking for. And then you'll go for 75% or 85%. Or there might be just continuing to do this and I don't give a damn about my hit rate. Or whatever there is for you. But the fact that you're doing this, you definitely want to increase the communication channel between your subconscious and conscious mind. Okay, and that's right. Even if we use the hit rate as the measure, just know that all of us know very deeply that it's about each one of us deepening ourselves. And then if you get a pass, nothing wrong with passes. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes people make is pushing it when they judge and giving it a 3.5, say, instead of passing. Nothing wrong with passes. You want to learn how to get more hits. A pass is a time and place to do that. Again, you're looking at the actual target on a new sheet of paper. you do what you wish you had done before, and knowing that you're communicating all this down to the UCC, including the intention and the expectation to get better at it, with this being an example of what better means. Okay, Joe McMonagle. I mean, if you had to come up with a one-liner to all this, that's it. It's all psychological. And being happy, why not? When you get a miss, you're going to have a sad moment, sure. But be happy that you're working on such cutting-edge technology. And as much as I and others try to teach what's going on, all I can talk to is your intellect and your ego. You're the one who has to bring it down in a meaningful way into your subconscious, and you're part of the UCC. You can't teach a man anything. You can only help him find it within himself. Okay. How about a new prediction? Any questions on the feedback? Let me do that first. Let me go look at the chat box or turn on your web. Okay, you're looking forward to the betting part. After you do your feedback session, a group manager has access to all of them. In fact, we will do this at the end of the prediction, so you will actually get to see this. And at the end of the prediction, I will indicate whether the answer is yes or no, indicating, okay, and so if you do a sport, it'll indicate whether you should go, say, over and under a line on a game. And then you would wager. So the group manager, after looking at all of the predictions for that particular event, notice we have one event, multiple predictions, that's when you can make your wager. So it's the group manager who collects all the data. But you're totally on your own in terms of wagering. We do not wager for you. In fact, we don't even recommend you go with the group wager. We recommend you build up confidence in yourself. If you go in the other direction and it's a 4 or a 5 or a 6, don't go with the group. There are times when the group lots of times when the group prediction is wrong, even though somebody else might have had a high one, the other way, or two people had high ones the other way. You should trust yourself, and you should tell your sub that. I trust you, sub, and I know you might not be right, but I trust you, and I'm going to go with you.
Okay,
So,
that's good. This is working like we have the target A and B, right? And once
yes, now let's do that now. Okay,
thank you.
That's what we're about to do. So,
Awesome, thanks.
earlier, as a group manager, I sent out this email. And remember, we're doing things a month ahead, so this is not a sports one. This happens to be the Great British Pound, Great Britain Pound versus the US dollar. Notice a trend here. I'm staying with Forex for a while. Too many people have feelings about what our US stock market's going to do, and who knows? I don't know this, but it may interfere. Okay, so I put this out. And then what you would do, and what you're effectively going to do, is click on that. Well, here is the link. It's right there. So let me see. Hold on. Well, this is what will come up next when you click on that link. And then you would put your email address. You should understand that every person gets a unique coordinate, and they will have a unique target. So you don't look at anybody else. All you look at is your personal feedback. because it is unique to you. So what I'm going to do now is, yeah, I think I can click on this, and then I will copy. Yeah, see, this is a generic URL. And notice here what came up. This number is unique to this event. So you'll see this number from time to time. You should just ignore it. And so now let me put in the chat box. And then those of you who feel experienced enough to start, just click it, put in your email address, and you can go. I am going to take anybody who cares to, including newbies, through a little bit more information, and then a 10-minute time to do your transcript. So I'll take maybe 5 minutes to get there. So some of you may want to start now, and you're welcome to. But I will go now and continue for the newbies. Okay, so when you put in your email address here, the next thing that comes up is this page. This is where you get your coordinate. Describe and sketch your 6-digit coordinate feedback target. I knocked out the specific coordinate. Your name is here. That's the email address that you put in, because that's what you'll use for getting your feedback. Here will be the coordinate will be repeated. Now, notice what these words say, which after you do it a few times, everybody ignores. But it basically says right now, and everybody who's done this well knows this, right now you do your RV session, right? You got your coordinate. So you do your RV session. Relax, you take as much time as you need, you don't rush it. You do a cool down. Most people do cool downs nowadays, but I know some CRV people don't. But you do your RV session in the way that you feel, you believe is best for you. And when that's done, when you've written end or end of session or finish, whatever on the bottom of your transcript, so you're done, okay, that's finished, you're done. Some people like to wait a little while because they might be in a different kind of state, and you want to come back to a intellectual state, because the next thing that happens as soon as you click submit, you're going to be in the remote. You're going to be in the analysis judging state. So that's where you see the two possible targets. So that's where you'll see photo site A, photo site B, and you can do your judging. But you don't do that, obviously, until you have a transcript to upload. And most people these days with their smartphones or scanners know how to get it into their computer, and all you do is browse, find it. It'll show up here, and then you hit submit, and then you get photo site A, photo site B. We'll talk later when we get into the judging phase for this prediction about the TARG scale, but it's right here for you to remember if you need to remember it. And right here with these drop-down menus is where you put 0 to 7 on how your particular transcript matches photo site A, and then totally independently how it matches photo site B. And in fact, above this page, photo site A will come up by itself, because a lot of people like to judge it before they look at photo site B. Then they scroll down, you take a moment, forget photo site A, and then you judge photo site B totally independently, and you mark it, and then you put comments in here. And then you hit submit, and you're done with the prediction and with the RV session and judging session. So this would end the judging session. What can't you see clearly? Oh, the link I put in the chat box. All you have to do is, oh, I'm sorry. No, I mean,
you sent an email.
No, chat box.
Okay.
Someone had sent something to me privately, and I thought I was sending to everybody. My fault. I responded to just that person. They didn't even have a message. You should be seeing it now.
Well, now, Marty, what was the email you sent out for the webinar at 10:36 this morning?
That was this. You can click on that. That's the same as this.
Same thing. Thank you.
Yeah. And you can, that's the same one. You can verify it by the date and everything. But, I just put it here for, especially, there might be some people who aren't there. Anyway, you're seeing it in the chat box as well now, correct? Please, somebody say yes. Yes, thank you. Okay. Now, continuing for the newbies, but those of you who feel comfortable going ahead, you go do it. Now, in getting ready for the remote viewing session, I just want to remind you about this intention, attention, and expectation. So right now, I'm going to take you slowly, well, not that slowly actually, through a cool down. And right now, if you're with me, just get a sense of intending to get a good description of and you can repeat your coordinate. Okay, so say your coordinate out loud, because we're going to have you say it out loud at feedback time as well. Say it out loud, and it has the real target right there, right under that coordinate, and you're intending to describe and sketch that. And at feedback time, you're paying a lot of attention to the picture, to the photo site. You're also now paying a lot of attention to what your subconscious is about to give you when you actually start the session. And your expectation for doing well is really good. I'm going to do really well this time. It just feels good. I have a confidence about me. Get into that place. Okay. So now we're in our ISI. You're going to describe and sketch. This cool down period is very important. Joe McMonagle says that because this is the place and time where you get rid of the day-to-day stuff going on in your ego. Yes. You begin to just relax. Okay, I'd like you now to just focus on your breath. I'm going to put some hemisync sound on and give you 10 minutes. But right now, why don't you get into your breathing? Take a deep breath. Add to your intention to match the target for your coordinate. Expect to do that. It feels good to relax. Just let any extraneous thoughts leave you. Just want to focus on your breathing. You're going to be mostly witnessing and then reporting what your subconscious provides. I will give you a 1-minute notice near the end of this 10 minutes. Why don't you begin now? Hmm. Okay, you have about 30 seconds to go. You might get another perception or two. Time to stop. Write end or EOS for end of session on the bottom of your remote viewing transcript. Well done. Thank you. Now definitely stretch a little bit. Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the chat box now. Okay, that's excellent. So a bunch of you had submitted. Let's get back to PowerPoint. And now, okay. Now we get into the analysis judging. We find out the yes or no. Two possible targets, right? The Great British Pound, a month from now, we don't know if it's going to be the yes target or the no target, but for now, each of you will be doing self-judging. I'm more and more recommending independent judging, where you as a remote viewer will never see what I call the other target, the one that is not the real target, the feedback target, because it is a channel of misinformation. Many people, and in fact, a fair number of people, have worked out how to get over that, I think mostly by just ignoring it and focusing on the feedback target. That's their intention, that's their expectation. But others just seem to get information from both targets, say, or sometimes mostly the wrong target, and they may want to use independent judges, and we can help pair you up just by using our discussion group. Or like now, you can see each other's names and stuff, and if you want to do independent judging, you can talk to each other, email each other. But for now, we're going to do self-judging, so you get a feel for what the judge does. And the TAR confidence ranking system, it's the judge's job to come up with a 0 to 7 confidence ranking for each of the possible targets. So he will end off providing 2 CRs, 2 confidence rankings. It's a 0 to 7 system. 0 and 1, 2 goes from no correspondence to basically chance. You're going to get some matches just by chance. The proverbial monkey typing on a typewriter might type a word or two that might give a match, you know. Who knows where it came from? It's certainly not strong enough where you would feel that you would say it was psychic information. If you just get one or two words or one wavy line that looks roughly like something in there, but you know, there's so much other stuff that doesn't match. And I'm going to show you a percentage way that we try to attack that. Now, a 3 is right at the margin. At the 3, you say, yep, I've made psychic contact with the target. It's a mixture of correct and incorrect elements, but enough of the correct to indicate that I did make contact. So I feel I did make contact. It's right on the margin. A 4 is good correspondence with several matchable elements intermixed with some incorrect information. This is Russell Targ trying to put words to how he thinks you should match this, and it's pretty good. Notice that in our protocol, the We protocol, we consider a confidence ranking of 3.5 to be wagerable. We went to the half system many years ago because people could never make up their mind exactly. So you're welcome to put in fractional stuff. But 3.5 or above, you're basically saying, I'm willing to put a few bucks on this if you're a wagering type, or I think it is wagerable right at the bottom. Notice a 4 is good. So 4 we consider to be pretty good. A 5 is very good. And we saw a really good example of a 5 with Lila earlier. And there, new words are introduced, not only good correspondence, but now the level is raised with unambiguous, unique, matchable elements, but some incorrect information. Okay, so that's that level. Unambiguous, unique, matchable elements. Something in there you're willing to say really points to that it's this particular one. And then the 6s and 7 start connecting up with these AOLs, the analytical overlays. A 6, you might name the function, and or you know, the function of the target. You might name the target, but you still have some incorrect information, but very little. And then a 7 is one of those spot on ones, which we get occasionally. So now a 7 does not have to have AOL. You know, if everything you put down matches, and you get the essence of the picture, you could have a 7. So I just wanted you to see an example. Turned out Lila actually was one very much like this, where we use to get over this idea of, you know, what's random, what's not random. You mark every element. Russ talked about elements. Some people call them percepts or precepts. Okay, so here's a percept, an element. Here's one. Notice this one has nothing. This one has an A. This matched outdoors. There'll be some that can match A and B. And they use capitals, because later we're going to count these up. A capital A would be a 1. A small a will be a half. And every now and then you get a major big A, which you can use as a 2. And so the words which don't match either, I'm looking on this one. On this one, there's no example of both. Let's see if there's one here. Well, anyway, you could see where there would be cases where you would get both. Now I want to tell you, well, before I do that, let me say the following. No equations here. Here, notice the count is 19 for A, 7 for B. There's no indication of a total count, but let's just imagine the total count being 40. Okay, she got 19 or 25, maybe 25, it doesn't matter. That ratio is the first indication of how well you did. If that ratio is below 0.5 or so, we would consider it random. Under 3.5, if it's close to 0.5, you have to use, this is judgment, so it's not black and white. We're not at a point here where this is really analytical totally, even though we're going to use analyticals. But notice, even in your judgment of big A versus little a, you're making judgment. Nevertheless, this is the first element. So this would be the ratio of the A's divided by the total elements. Now, Joe McMonagle, and here's an example where the person did that. Notice the ratio, 13 over 23, 10 over 23. Okay, so this was their fractional match. But what they did not include here, and some people stop here, okay, and they will then multiply this by 7 and come up with a 0 to 7, and then look at the words, and ultimately, really, you want to have the sense that his words are correct. But some people more and more are just multiplying this by 7 and giving it. However, Joe McMonagle has, and so that's what we've done here. So this is just an example of that, where you take the ratio. So you understand this one. Pretty simple arithmetic, and you're just trying to get a number for each one, which is between 0 and 1, and so you multiply it by 7, and you're going to get a number between 0 and 7. So the fraction of good matches for each. Joe McMonagle rather strongly recommends adding this idea of FIGs, first impression gestalts. When you look at a picture, something is going to hit you the first time. We saw a picture where I think it was snow, but it was like white snow. I think was the major gestalt, that if she had said white, you would have seen that as a gestalt as well. Or mountain, or there was water there, it didn't fill up the hole, enough of it that maybe it was a gestalt, maybe it wasn't. This is where you have to use judgment again. But it's that kind of thing that smacks you in the face when you first look at something. It's the big picture of it. It gets you into the ballpark about what the picture is all about. And there can be more than one fig. Now, what he does, he gives a 50% weight in the dish, gives 50% weight in addition to the A/B counting that we did. Okay, so this is a little vague. I will explain it more clearly. But okay, so this is the way he does it. Notice what we've added here is the first impression gestalt, which can be from 0 to 1. If you've captured all of those gestalts, that could be a 1 for A. If you've captured maybe your senses, you really didn't get all the big picture stuff, I'm going to give you a 0.3 because you got maybe 1 out of what I see as the judge, 3 big gestalts. And the reason for this is most remote viewers early on, maybe even at the level of the very first things they put down with the ideogram, tend to get the big picture stuff, the Gestalt level stuff. So that's what you would put here. Then you do what you did before in terms of your counting, number match A by total. And now you multiply by 3.5 because this is a maximum of up to 1 and this is a maximum up to 1. So that's something which I basically stole from Joe. And thinking this really is a good idea. So here is just an example of that, where the person actually did it. Notice the number of elements, and somewhere in here must be the figs that they gave. Anyway, it is, trust me. And this is just, again, repeating this. Some people don't like equations, so they can do this 0 plus 1, add the ratio 0 plus 1, and go to a chart like this. Notice that 2, this is the inside, fig plus element, goes up to 7. So I'm just trying to accommodate people. So ultimately, this is what it is. When you put a CR down, you are communicating that this is what you believe about the match with your transcript and photosite A, and then the similar CR for photosite B. So we always ask, well, you know, if you self-judge, it's good to put down the reasons. If you're independent judging, I no longer want people to put down information about both targets because that information becomes available eventually to the viewer. You know, we keep all this information from the boxes and everything that you do, and that can be, again, be a source of noise. So that's it. How do you put in your CRs? We go back to, well, not, let's see, do I have a page up? We go back to, well, each of you must have it, right? Each of you have a page with that confidence rankings on it, right? So I can go back and find it, but yeah, it's here. So each of you have this page. What I'd like you to do now is do your judging, and if you have a particularly outstanding score, say a 5 or more, on your judged page, which will have your A's and B's, it might be fun to send it along. You can email it to me, because then we can also act as judges. But the main thing, that's secondary. Really don't worry about that. Do your judging, put it in here, and I, as the group manager, will be receiving them, and then I am going to put them up and discuss them. All of them, and I will make a group prediction, but we'll be able to see how you and everybody else judges. And who knows, if you know anything about Forex, you might want to wager. But that's a whole different matter. Right now, we're really working our ARV. So I will be quiet for a few moments. You do your judging. Any questions?
How are we doing our judging? Are there photos? Marty?
Well, yeah. Did you upload your transcript?
Uh,
You go, remember this page?
oh, okay.
You
Yep.
just know this is
Sorry.
normal. Yeah, this is just normal
Gotcha.
stuff. Right. Where you uploaded your no, where you got your coordinate, now it's time to upload because you're going to do
Okay. All right.
right. Are there any other questions? Is that clear? And that's where you'll see your two pictures. But this is the page where you now do your uploading. In fact, you know what? I'm going to copy these over. Okay, yeah, while you're doing your judging, I'm just going to improve this. I do a lot of copying of the good stuff. So I want to copy this. And improvements. So this is under predictions. There we Okay, now what I'm going to do, most people don't get to see this, but you are also special. I'm acting now here for those of you who are watching, but judging is your most important thing to do now. I can go to a place where I can see when you submit. And I have all the information about your confidence rankings and two pictures and your transcript. So to do that, I have to do that. And this is GBP. Oh, wow. A lot of you have done this. Wonderful. Why did I get, oh, that's me. All right, so I'm getting partial information. Good, keep doing what you're doing. Okay. Um, Marge, you gave yourself a 6.5. Would you mind sending me via email um, your transcript?
Yes, of course, no problem. I just don't know your email.
Yeah, here, I'll put it in the chat box.
Thank
In
you.
fact, and this email to everybody, questions, comments. I am an email person. Apparently, there are less and less of us, but I feel email is a way you really get to communicate. You know, you have to think a little bit about what you write, and
I did upload the photo. I was actually having impression of being in a fish tank because I was getting the bubbles and energy blasting. So, you
it's
know.
okay. No, don't. You don't have to talk. Don't talk yet about it because other people.
Okay,
will
sorry.
No,
Sorry.
we'll do it when we look at it. So I just put my email in there.
Okay, thank you.
Are you a member of app and any of our groups?
I think I was basically invited, but I'm not too sure how it works. Do I have to log in or something? If I do, then I'm not. Yeah, but I had
No.
emails from you, so.
Okay, I will ask Julie to put you in like a sports group to start you
Right.
off. Okay. Oh, did
Okay.
that happen already?
I am sending.
Okay, good.
Okay, it's done, so you should receive it soon.
Okay. Okay, there you are. My machine is acting slow. I tell you what I want to do just to make sure it gets done. I'm going to forward this, your email. To Julie. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, more people are judging, and so I'll get more people here. So now let me find you. And I've got, okay, so I have 4 people done. So don't rush it. This is extraordinarily important. You have no idea. And this takes as long as it takes, but it's very important. Remember, this is where the actual prediction is made. This is where a decision and how strong of a decision a potential wagerer gets the information based on the confidence ranking and which direction. Okay, so there you are, Marge. I have your transcript. You gave it for side 1, so I'm only going to open up the one you gave 6.5, and you can verify that this indeed is your photo.
Yeah.
When it comes up. There we go. Okay, so that should be your photo.
Yes, that's my photo, yeah.
Okay, so there's your photo. And here's your transcript.
Of course, I did it in 4 minutes, so I didn't have a time to analyze like I would normally analyze my sessions, but I know that it indicates enough energy movements and things, you know, which didn't match the other photo. So
okay, wait, let me how long did you take to do your remote viewing session?
About 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay, and then the judging session, you did 4 or 5 minutes again?
Yes, something like that, yeah.
You didn't mark the A, you didn't use the A-B approach?
Yes, I did, yeah. I mean, not in the protocol, not in the protocol. I didn't know that I have to do that.
Well, nobody makes you do it. One of the really important rules, and I think it was Ingo Swann who certainly put this out many years ago, is the viewer is in charge. I recommend it. With the A's and B's. Okay, so tell me about your A's. What did you give as A's that you met?
Well, definitely I had the impression of underground flowing. So I was thinking it's probably some kind of tank, like I'm not sure how to describe it, like a fish tank or energy tank or I don't know, atomic energy flowing, right? It was pretty powerful to me because I seen bubbling and, you know, like I wouldn't use the word erupting in it. I wasn't that far in my session, you see, but I was bubbles, which are definitely on the photo. Plus, I seen the you know, lava under the ground flowing. So that's what I meant.
I can see that down here. That matches very well.
Plus, you see my ideogram. The ideogram doesn't match the person. It matches definitely energy movement from underground, right?
For you, that's, ideograms,
for me.
Some of them are personal, right?
Yeah, okay. I mean, if it was missing person case, I'd say it's dead, but I knew it. Okay. I'm not looking at the missing person case.
So, but did you actually mark A's? Why don't you tell me which words? Like this says under. So did you put an A on under or next to under? Or did
no,
you just...
Actually, I just did the session. I didn't mark in a session A or B's because this is very new to me. Right, but I will do it next time.
Well, if it helps you, try it, experiment with it.
I will, yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Because that's relatively new. Most people just did it just like you did it, and then they connect this up with the target scales. So energy involved, transformed energy, flow. That's flow,
energy,
right? Very good.
Energy flow, yeah. And then basically I had a person diving because I thought I'm underground. So I like to ditch my subconscious down, right? So it's down, right? And then basically noises like bubbling, right? Then
person diving is not, see, it's not right. There's no person in here.
Okay, yes, I know. But on the second photo was a person, right?
Well, yeah, but you judge that. Now, this is very, very, very important for you to understand.
Okay, all right.
This photo, it goes against the scoring of this one. There's no person. That's why you mark things. You would have a B here.
Right, okay.
So you see the fact that you don't have person here means your 6.5 is probably too high because you probably also don't have some other things.
Right, I understand. Okay.
Was everything else right? Bubbly, close enough.
Yeah, I had animal as a person, right? Whatever, I can recognize this too in my sessions, you know. When I have a subject, I don't know if it's animal.
Right. I mean, this still looks very good to me. Don't get me wrong. The AOL I ignore.
Yeah.
But you know, these shapes don't match. You know, you said you had an idea of flow, and I think you wrote energy. Did you write flow?
Yeah.
Right. But this would, again, counting, this to me might be up to the level of a 5.
Right. Okay.
Okay. And again, if you were to do the counting, I think that's about what you would come up with. You see, again, look at this. The square part doesn't match, but, you know, this might be a little a, you know, because,
Okay.
you know, maybe it's even a big A. I don't know. You would have to judge that, especially with the feeling you had for it. You might give this a big A, but you can see why it's marginal, why judging is so hard. You know, everybody's listening to this. And judging is a very difficult and yet the most, in some ways, from the perspective of investing, the most important part. And you can see there's judgments here. I would see this as definitely a little a, maybe a big A, but in many ways it depends what was going on in your mind. When you said you saw underground flow, here that's really good. But the squared off part, I think in your mind, and again here, you saw it as being mechanical.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and this is all the kinds of stuff which the judge.
It is also, Martin, my translation into English from my subconscious, which is my second language, you see. My subconscious is my first language. Then I have my, nationality from Poland. So it's harder to transcript it to English, all right? So I'm stuck a little, but I
not
understand
really.
that's what I see.
If you do self-judging, you can do all of it in Polish. Nobody else will need to look at it.
All right, then I do that then.
Yeah. You know, if you get to become an independent judge, then you need to find a Polish judge or an American judge. But if I were to judge, you know, I would like to do the A approach, but I don't see any problem with this coming up to a level of
okay.
5. This is good. Bubbling is wonderful. Noises, right on.
Yeah.
This matches this. Very nice, Marge. Really get into our group and start doing the precogging and build up a record. Yeah, build up
this
a
is
record.
very new to me because obviously I'm doing, past tense always in remote viewing. So this is my first contact really with ARV today. So really grateful that you introduce it in an easy way because it's understandable for me. And thank you.
And thank you. And definitely stay with it. You look like you have, well, you're obviously psychic. You know, it could have been anything, right?
Yeah, I was born this way somehow, right?
Exactly. So let's apply it to ARV. That'd be great.
Okay, then I'll be rich now. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Let me go back here and let me refresh, and I'll show you how it. So as a manager, I get to see all of this, and sometimes I'll bring up the transcript, which I have myself. But I was hoping she would give me the ABs, but she may or may not do that in the future. The viewer is in charge. But here is where so I have 1, 2, so I have a side 2, a side 1, a pass, and a side 2 with a 4.5. So, you know, in my mind, I gave this a 5. She gave this a 1. Gave this a 2. Jay left. Well, let's look at his. What time is it? Oh, I'm supposed to be finishing about now. Okay, I am going to finish about now. Notice, and this happens, and I need to follow my own advice. When they're close, you know, if I had more time, I would look at this 4.5. But since I believe this is like a 5, and that's on side 1, which is up, and this is side 2, which is down. Here's a 3.5, which is down. But in my mind, 3.5, I don't know, it's close. So this 5 is, you see there's 2 down. The highest one is up. As a group manager, again, remember, I really believe the group prediction is the least important most of the time, because there's no wagering on this one. This is a close one. I liked yours, Marge. So,
Marty, did you get mine? Marty?
Nope. Good. Let me redo it, Lila.
Yeah.
We'll see which way you went. And let me see if there's any more out. I don't have yours, Lila. Oh, let's see what happened.
Huh. I'll send it again.
Wait, the way you send it is through the system, like you normally do. Don't email it to me. I don't want an email.
Oh, okay.
Right? I want you to put in your confidence rank, just like you do. What I'm having everybody do here is a normal prediction go through the. That's how they learn. So March.
Then,
yeah.
All right, mine's on its way.
I will wait. Yeah. Yeah, I changed format, and I think this format is much better because people do it, and I get to judge it.
That's why I'm confused. Sorry about that.
No, I understand. In
Okay.
fact, I think I really appreciated you coming, actually. You contributed. So there you are. Let's see which way you went.
Okay, I just hit my submit button.
Oh, okay.
After doing my feedback session.
Okay. After doing your judging session.
My judging, yes.
Yeah. Okay, let me just wait a moment here.
Yeah.
I'll click refresh. So you actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's good. So it looks like everybody has done it. Let me refresh here. There you are. File Sora. I don't know if you can all. In fact, you know what? Let me make it bigger.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I see something wrong.
What? No, you went down.
Oh. Well.
Yeah, no, and you went down. That's beautiful.
Went down. Well, so according to what I'm seeing, I scored a 2.5 on photosite A and a 5 on photosite B.
Yep.
But it looks like it recorded a 0. Is that not right?
No, it's a 5.
It's
the
a 5.
First,
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
here's a 2.5. Remember, I used to have 2 targets.
Right. Oh,
Two real targets. So I haven't
Okay.
changed any of this stuff because I'm the only one that sees this or other. And there's your 5. So that's really good. And I just want everybody maybe to see this if I can make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so notice we now have Marge with an up, and I have Lila with a 5, which is also very good. And Lila's been doing this for a long time. You saw another one of her 5s. She's going down. Why this happens, I do not know. That meant either Lila or Marge. Well, and Joe is down too. So I actually have 3 downs. The only one who went up, and that is with the 5. You know what? I think I am going to go down 3-1 plus a 5. This is a 5. Marge, for reasons which we don't understand, Some people get good descriptions of the wrong target. That's going to be my hypothesis here. However, be very, very clear. You could turn out to be right, and all three of these people could turn out to be wrong. So I hope that's clear to everybody. But as a group manager, what did I do? Let me close this. Good, we're back here. So as a group manager for webinar workshop, I am going with down. Yeah. And you can see, had she been the other way, 2 high ones. Anyway, I'm going with down, and you understand why. It's not only 3 to 1, but a 5 is comparable to the 5.5 there. So side 1 is up, side 2 is down. So I'm going with side 2. And up, down is the same as yes, no by default. So, and I will done. Okay. We are done. Everybody in the group will get a prediction email like this. So when you join Carve, you'll get emails like this. And there we go. And so you get the prediction, so you can do one if you wish. And the sports people, I know a lot of them are in fact investing, are in fact wagering, betting. So with that, let me go back here. And let's just a few closing remarks here. Unless there are any predictions. The idea of precognitive telepathy is so powerful here because this is really going on down in the UCC, your subconscious, your mind, everything with your vibrational signature. The genes are a part of it. So that's what the I-Psi is tapping into when you do the remote viewing session, when you do the feedback session. All that entanglement is going on. It's you who are creating this. And it begins with the feedback session. I use the word cause here, and that's why science has so much trouble. They have trouble with retrocausality, which is what this is called. And this entanglement energy is what you're manipulating here. I mean, you know, it takes energy to get a feeling, to get a word, to get an image in your now moment. And it's this entanglement energy, which is what is being moved around. So, yeah, how? Don't ask me how, but that seems to be what's happening. And it's clear that you can do it. Humans do it. There are so many examples. You see the examples today that show precognition works and people can do this. You know, even if some were wrong at the level of a 5, they were probably precognitive. And why we sometimes get misses at that level is one of the mysteries. And each, you know, I'm working on it at the big level, but you know what? The major conclusion I've come to is that it's personal. that I'm not going to ever solve it. Nobody's going to solve it in the general sense, because the solution is it's personal with you. The entanglements with other things may have caused you to get a strong miss. You know, if the miss is even at the 4 level, there could be a lot of maybe non-important reasons for it. But when you get a 5 or a 6, there's something else going on, in my opinion. And this idea of loving entanglements, just trying to keep in a loving, positive mode with clear intentions, attentions, and expectations is so important. Did a whole webinar on love being the heartbeat of the whole universe. And it's really true. Your emotions are a big part of the entanglements. Love places are easy to find, all of that. So the goal of life is to match your heartbeat to the beat of the universe. And that was Joseph Campbell. I used that one in the love webinar. And I'm wishing all of you health, wealth, and wisdom. And I haven't talked about wealth here at all, but I've had other webinars on that. When I talk wealth, I'm talking about wealth in the big sense, where the money is there to do good, not only for you and your family, but the larger community. You know, it's shared wealth, where all of this is happening in the UCC. Everybody's in that UCC. And so the wealth, in some way, should be shared with that. And imagine if that's one of your purposes as you're doing this. Doesn't that feel so good that you know you're going to share in some way that makes sense to you? A lot of people give 10% of winnings to their favorite charity. So that's a way of sharing, etc. You know, whatever feels good to you, but you should share it out there. When I talk about wealth, that's what I mean. So with that, I'll end, and I'm open to questions, comments. Or we're done. Okay. Very good. I thank you all for joining me. Let me just get to the place where I can close this. And all of you, definitely keep precogging and stay in touch.